Welcome to the Paul Has Fun podcast. I'm Paul, and on this podcast, I dig into my hobbies. I also document my life and interests. Thank you so much for spending time with me. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about 9 lessons that I learned in 2023, life lessons that have helped me, and I hope that by saying them to you here, it can help you. Now, just to give you some context of my perspective of where I'm coming from, I am in my late 40s. I'm single. I have no kids. Never been married. I listen to a lot of self-help. I'm vegan. And for many years, I've used sex, food, TV, video games to distract myself from feelings of rejection, of boredom, hurt feelings, living in the past. So I just wanted to kind of give you a context to where these 9 lessons that I'm about to impart on you, life lessons that were reinforced or crystallized in 2023. Lesson 1 is sugar dating is an expensive alternative to seeing sex workers. I've been seeing sex workers on and off for about the last 6, 7, 8 years, and that was getting kind of old, so I wanted to go ahead and try something new, and that's when I got into sugar dating. I have found that it's a little bit more time intensive, not a lot, but a little bit more time intensive than seeing sex workers. It also is more expensive in the sense of it's not just like paying someone, you have sex and then they go or you go. It's more like talking and getting to know one another. Not a lot, but there is more of that than there would be in just seeing a sex worker. Also, getting more into sugar dating, still seeing sex workers here and there, because also you can't be arrested for sugar dating, right? Where with sex workers in most places you can be arrested, labeled as a sex offender. Definitely don't want that for myself or for anyone listening to this. And why even get into seeing sex workers or get into sugar dating? I have abandonment issues. Parents were divorced. I've seen my brothers and sisters, they've gotten divorced or separated, and I just don't want to go into that same path. So this is where my journey has brought me to this point, and it can change or it can stay the same. I'm okay either way. Lesson 2 is regular dating sites are a complete waste of time. I started this sugar dating, regular dating journey after there was someone that I wanted to talk to in 2023, and they didn't want to date me or like kind of go down that route with me. I took it as a challenge to myself, and I got into the sugar dating. And when I did that, I tried regular dating again through websites and apps. The sugar dating responses, I was getting a ton of responses with sugar dating because, hey, I'm paying, right? So they're in a bind, they need money, they come my way, right? But in the regular dating websites and apps, it just was a ghost town. I would get ghosted all the time. I would start messaging with somebody here and there, but then they would just, like I said, stop responding. And it's a lot of work, sending messages and things like that, where on the sugar dating site it is work as well, but I'm getting all the responses. Just the regular dating websites and apps were a waste of time for me, even though maybe I should have given it more time, but more time and money than just a month. I'm not saying I needed to get all the responses, but just to get something. I mean, even a date, one date, nothing. So that was a complete waste of time. Lesson number 3, the urges for destructive behaviors came in waves, and also this goes hand in hand. I squished this all into this one lesson, that your mind is not your identity. Just because you're thinking a particular way doesn't mean that that's who you are. You can change that. You are not your story that you've been telling yourself for all these years. And I'm saying that to you right now, but it's kind of like a mirror, like saying it back to myself. But those urges that I mentioned for destructive behaviors or for bad behaviors, like watching and masturbating to porn, overeating, watching TV for all kinds of hours, playing video games for all kinds of hours. I like to watch TV, I like to play video games, but for a set amount of time, because I have other stuff to do. But the overeating is just kind of like, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling like somebody rejected me here, or I don't feel attractive, or I'm feeling less than, as opposed to the next lesson, which I'm going to talk about as a solution to that. I would have these urges, and like I said, anytime negative feelings or even boredom have these urges to go ahead and want to act out, like I said, with food, sex, TV, video games, or spending money. Another one was shopping, right? Shopping, just anything to give me that dopamine hit to not feel those feelings, just to kind of push them down. This is a lesson learned from the Porn Reboot podcast, which I'm grateful for, and I've been listening to for years. It comes in waves. It'll crest, and that's when the urge is so high, but then it's going to go away eventually. And that's how it even is with negative feelings. These urges are not your identity. What you think in your brain is not your identity. You can change these things. Not easy to do, but it can be done. Those initial lessons regarding sugar dating, I learned that through the Coach Greg Adams YouTube channel. I'm a big fan of his content. It's entertaining. It's also eye-opening in terms of modern day men and experiences with women and dating and marriage and divorce and the such. So lesson number 4 goes with lesson number 3, where I was talking about the urges. Lesson number 4 is having awareness and self-dialogue on your urges and reasons why you choose to distract yourself. And this has been the solution. It hasn't always worked, but I've acted out less with those things that I mentioned before because of this particular exercise of having the awareness that, okay, I want to go ahead and masturbate to porn. Why? Am I bored? Did I feel a rejection today? It's just because. Because if you go and watch that porn and masturbate to it, afterwards you're going to feel bad. Or if you know you're going to go ahead and overeat or watch the latest streaming series all night long when you know you have other stuff to do, you got to get to bed, or you wanted to do something else, you're going to feel terrible about it later or the next day. Having this dialogue and this awareness, it helps with that. It helps, like, you don't have to do that. You can do something else. Okay, let's do that. Let's watch a little bit of TV, but let's cut it at a certain time. We get up and we'll go do something else. Or we'll get up and go do something that you said you were going to go do. Which leads into the next lesson, that being scheduling and following through builds confidence, self-discipline, and capital. And what do I mean by capital? Well, first off, I learned this lesson from Ed Mylett. I heard it in a podcast, and I heard him mention it years ago, maybe a year or two ago, on Sean Croxton's Quote of the Day podcast. And then I subscribed to Ed Mylett's podcast, and I heard him talking about this, and I love this because it's kind of like making your to-do list, basic things. My morning routine, I got to go to the gym, I'm going to do this at work, and XYZ. And once you're like kind of scratching those things off for the day and doing them, this builds confidence, this builds self-discipline, this builds capital. Capital in the sense that when those urges that I mentioned before to engage in those bad behaviors because you're bored or you're feeling rejected or you're feeling a negative feeling, you can say to yourself, Paul, these feelings are coming up. Now you want to go ahead and do this or eat this or that, all these things that you know are not going to be good for you. But look at all the things that you did today. You said you were going to go to the gym, you went to the gym. You said you were going to call this person, you called them. You said you were going to go ahead and take care of this particular thing, you took care of it. And this is all building capital so that when those negative urges come up, I can say to myself, you did all these good things. These feelings of negativity, these feelings of boredom, okay, you were rejected today. That's going to happen. You're not going to get out of this life unscathed. This is one rejection of many, so it's fine. Feel your feelings, let this pass, and it's going to be okay. Having this awareness of the feelings, having this self-dialogue, and then following through on your to-do list, on your schedule, it all adds up to something very beautiful, something very kind of self-reliant, that you're building this thing, that you're doing these things, you're making these new habits of having this dialogue because you did what you said you were going to do. That's going to help when those urges come up, and it'll help you to combat those urges. That voice of those urges just becoming a lot smaller because it doesn't have as strong of a hold on you as it once did. You see how these lessons, they are going into each other, which is I love that. Number 6, follow advice from doctors and scientists, not influencers. And this is not a definitive, you must follow what doctors say, because sometimes doctors are wrong or they don't have the correct information. But if you're seeing somebody on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, please just be mindful. The influencers, they have their valid story and how this particular action or this new way of living or this new way of eating has really helped them. And they have before and after pictures, they're telling the story. That's totally valid. It's very easy to follow a regular person saying, hey, this worked for me. But when a doctor or a scientist says, hey, you go down this route, long-term XYZ is going to happen, or that's completely wrong just because this person had these quick results initially doesn't mean that that's going to be the results they're going to have all the time. For me, following influencers on mostly YouTube, I ended up going back and forth from a carnivore to vegan diet. I initially came into things with a vegan diet. I grew up eating meat and stuff like that, but my dad, he had several health issues, had a heart attack, had a stroke multiple times near the end of his life, and I think it was due to stress. He led more of a Mediterranean diet with like oils and like seafood and stuff, but I choose to do a vegan diet because I want to keep my internals in terms of my cholesterol nice and clean, in terms of my valves, my heart valves, and also not to stay slim as I'm getting older. He wasn't obese, but I just want to stay slim and strong, and I feel that the vegan diet, and from my limited research, that's going to help me to do that. And following influencers, I was like, okay, they're saying these, like eating this meat and eating these butter and like that's going good for them, that their skin is better, that they've lost all this weight. I was like, sure, I'll try that. I would go out, buy this whole shopping list of carnivore foods and then eat that for 2-3 days and then feel guilty about doing so and end up giving away all these groceries. And I did that for so many weeks in 2023. I've lost so much money doing that. I mean, other people got fed, which was good. If I gave it away to folks that I thought couldn't give it to other people, and they always took the food, which is great. But I did that so much, and I lost so much money, and it was because of listening to influencers. But on the flip side, the positive that came out of this was I got even more into a vegan diet. I've been better about not giving away food because I'm buying the actual foods that I know are going to be good for me and not feeling guilty about eating those foods. And I've gotten a lot more into vegan cooking in terms of preparing things. And now that so many more people are having vegan diets, there's so many more recipes and they're so much easier to put together, where there were appliances that I used in the past, like a juicer or a dehydrator or a crock pot, that I kind of stopped using and I ended up either selling or giving away just to kind of buy them again this year, but actually using them now because the people that I'm following vegan wise, chef wise, they're preparing all these fantastic dishes, and I'm like, okay, and I've prepared some of them myself and it's worked and it's been great. So that all came from this one observation, this one lesson of follow more doctors and scientists and not influencers. Even though they're not always correct, but science is saying one thing, then I try to tend to lean more towards that than someone's story. Another lesson, which is kind of random compared to everything I've been talking about, is that most people don't want your version of help. That's the next lesson here. And I've learned this more so at work. I work in a hotel. I'm a bellman. But for many years I worked at a front desk. And when I would offer a particular kind of help, it would be my help, or I would be pushing the hotel's help, but I wouldn't really be listening to the customer, listening to what exactly that they wanted in terms of help and what I can potentially do to help them. So I just found that very interesting, that people want their version of help, not always your version of help. So just kind of listen more and see what people are exactly saying and see what you can do to help them the way they want to be helped, or just, hey, I can't help you that way, but I can help you XYZ. Just give them options. I found that very important there. These next two are more so with exercise. I was in my gym. Personal trainers, a lot of times in my particular gym, they're kind of grifting a little bit. They're looking for new clients to sell sessions to, right? And this one personal trainer just kind of came up to me and said, hey, just do slower reps as opposed to like just doing these fast reps because you'll get better results. And I have started to do that. I started to feel like in doing the slower reps, I started to feel more kind of like that after the next day kind of soreness, which is good, meaning that for me it tells me, hey, I worked that body part. So that started to happen more often. So that was game-changing advice. And in this same lesson, I guess this is dealing kind of with exercise, is slower reps with weight training and small little extra exercises as part of my morning routine, so that I can stay strong as I get older. This is all this one lesson. This is all kind of gym lesson, exercise lesson, and adding small, like let's say in the morning, just do like 10 squats, do like 10 leg raises, 10 push-ups, and some pull-ups on the pull-up bar, and 10 tricep dips. Just small, like one set, not even doing a bunch. I learned this from watching this vegan YouTube channel called The Vegan Gym, where they interviewed someone who's older, like in her 60s, and she says, like, I incorporate these and I do these every day because I just, like I said, want to be strong as I age, like the squats, right? So you have to stand up from bed, you have to stand up from sitting down, and that's all like kind of in that motion, that squat motion. I started to incorporate that into my morning routine, and I started to do slower reps in the gym, and I don't think I'm getting bigger, but then I guess I'm looking at myself all the time, or getting more muscular or anything, but like I said, I feel more of the results in terms of soreness the next day on those muscle groups I may be working because of the slower reps. Finally, the last and ninth lesson is calorie density is a great way to lose weight without counting calories. I found out about this year, and in the past, when I would be sometimes it's bad to like watch TV and eat, because for me it's just kind of pleasure TV, pleasure food, and I just keep eating it. But it's a bad habit I still do to this day. But I would feel like when I eat, let's say when I was just even having my regular veggie kind of vegan diet, that I would get so full, like I would have to go lay down because I can't move from eating so much food. So, but what I didn't notice is like that would happen when I would eat a bunch of fruit, and then let's say I ate a bunch of vegetables and I ate a bunch of grains, and I was just slowly like, okay, dude, like no more, please, I can't, But this is a form of calorie density. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying, with calorie density, eating, let's say, the example given by the people I've heard explaining is like, let's say you have your plate, right? One plate, one half of it is starches. Second plate is veggies, and you could throw in some fruit on the side. And these foods, they don't really have fat on them. So you can go ahead and kind of go to town until you just pretty much become full. Now the caveats will be fruits or veggies. I think avocado is a fruit though, but again, avocado, which is super fattening, or nuts, you really have to curb that. You really have to have little bits of those things on a daily basis, not have the whole thing, because that it's super fattening and you could definitely gain some lbs, some weight. But having a plate of, like I said, half veggies, half starches, or set it up whichever way you kind of want, and you don't have to count the calories, because you can even, like if you're a bigger person or you're trying to lose weight, you can lose weight just by eating like this, and going for long walks like in your neighborhood and stuff like that. This combination of these two things, I've seen, once again, influencers on YouTube doing this and having lost the weight. So calorie density is a great way to lose weight without counting calories, and eating healthy too. So the 9 lessons, once again: number 1, sugar dating is an expensive alternative to seeing sex workers. Number 2, regular dating sites are a waste of time. Number 3, urges for destructive behaviors come in waves, and your mind is not your identity, or these urges are not your identity. Number 4, have an awareness and self-dialogue on your urges and reasons why you choose to distract yourself. Number 5, follow advice from doctors and scientists, not influencers. Number 6, scheduling and following through builds confidence, self-discipline, and capital, so that when those urges come up, you can tell yourself, hey, I did X, Y, Z, and I'm doing good. Let's keep on the same track and not fall into these bad behaviors. Number 7, slower reps with weight training and small extra exercises added to my morning routine helps me keep strong as I age. Number 8, most times people want their version of help, not yours. And the final one, number 9, calorie density is a great way to lose weight without counting calories. As always, want to hear your thoughts, comments, feedback. You could do so on the blog, or wherever you may be listening to this that has a space for you to comment. You could do so on paulhasfun.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.